So I am here today to do a bit of an introduction to what Linda is actually going to do, which is the heart of the matter. So I am, sadly to say, I'm just a pretty face here, and Linda is the one doing all of the significant work. So you'll be really thrilled when she jumps on. So to talk about the agenda, we're going to talk just a little bit about who we are. I'm not going to bore you guys with all the Dean Dorton facts. Hopefully you know that already, but we'll just bring a few things to light. We'll talk about modern day technology. We'll talk about Dynamics GP, and there you have it, the Dynamics 365 roadmap as well. We'll talk about what solution might be right for you. Of course, you've got a lot of choices, but we'll present a few of those. Then we'll do some comparisons of the two products, which Linda will take you through those and give you a glance, a nice glance at Business Central, and talk about some of the things that makes it unique and worth taking a look at, especially for folks who are currently utilizing the Dynamics GP platform. So when we talk about Dean Dorton, we are a Dynamics 365 Business Central partner. And I do want to pause here for just a moment because there is a differentiation there. First of all, Microsoft has become very fond of those three numbers, 365. Office 365, Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, and there's a lot of flavors even of those individual pieces as well. What we are talking about today specifically is Dynamics 365 Business Central as it relates to Dynamics GP. So we're going to tie these two together here for you. As a matter of note, we are also a Sage Intacct Premier partner and a Microsoft Dynamics Gold partner. So from a Premier partner perspective with Intacct, that is another cloud-based platform that we support. We have over 75 years of combined Dynamics experience, Dynamics GP mostly, Dynamics 365 some, the Dynamics sales product as well too, to a certain extent. And we are really excited about this. And it's still technically a new solution. We'll tell you a little bit more about that later, but we really are excited to have Business Central as a software tool that we can recommend to folks. So let's talk about the digital experience. Why do we want to talk about that? Well, if you take a look, there are, and probably a little bit more than this now, there are approximately 2 billion active social media accounts, 3 billion active internet users, which I'm sure there's people out there with multiple social media accounts at this point now, so that number is probably doubled. We had 2.4 billion smart devices 3 years ago. And think about how things have changed during COVID as well too. So more smart devices, more shopping online, more, goodness knows, more Amazon deliveries, right? We're going to wear those delivery guys out if we continue at the pace we're at. And then 80 billion connected IoT devices. I don't know about you guys, but I really hesitated before installing any smart devices in my home. And the first thing I broke down and did was a smart thermostat. And it's been really nice to have, and it's led me to have a few additional things. Light bulbs that I can tell my good friend Alexa to turn on for me if I want to, and things like that. So the world's changing, the world's evolving, and it is definitely a place where a lot of the personal experience that we've had is driving the business transformations as well. So there's a lot of companies now that are jockeying for position to be an Alexa favored organization, so that if you ask for a recommended CPA firm in the area, they come up in the Alexa list, sort of like Google SEO, right? So a lot of that is changing. It's transforming customer engagement. You guys know you have an issue with Dynamics GP or whatever system you might be on. You'll take a moment to look that up on Google or Bing or whatever your search engine is. So it's transforming the way we interact with customers, transforming the way employees can work. Information is a lot more readily out there. Customer experience oftentimes will eclipse the product and the price. And what we mean by that is you hear a lot more now about how customers feel about things. Granted, people are more likely to post something online when they're unhappy with it than when they're not. But still, you hear more about the customer experience. And the digital life now is making that customer engagement really an ongoing, nearly 24/7 commitment to those customers. So really puts it to where businesses have to be out there. They have to have that presence. You cannot get by on silos anymore. You have to be there for your customers, or someone else will. So we talk about data, we talk about data intelligence and the digital transformation. It's really where all these things come together in the financial area of an organization, because you have to look at sales metrics, you have to look at purchasing metrics. How efficient are you with your vendors? Could you be doing something more timely? What about your inventory stock? How can we be more just in time, for example, with that? And that really isn't to talk about all the different things that are going on with AI now and the way that the artificial intelligence is really jumping in. Some of the accounting platforms now have tools built into them so that you enter a journal entry and it will double check past entries and ask you if you are indeed making the correct entry, because it seems to be out of line with what you've done in the past. So, there's a lot of different ways that the digital revolution, and I think a lot of things that have been led by the personal digital revolution, with the prevalence of iPhones and iPads and mobile devices of all sorts, that are really driving business forward and making it almost a necessity to be in an environment where you can be in touch with your customers nearly 24/7. Whether that means just having a portal that they can look up invoices and pay them if they happen to be working at 10 o'clock at night, or a website where they can place an order for your products at 3 in the morning. The digital revolution is truly changing business, and I think for the better, and even more so with COVID. When you talk about AP and cutting checks, moving away from that because you had to have somebody come in and sign them, to a more digital payment technology, just taking the ACHs or wire transfers, or some of the online tools that are available for that now. I think we're still just at the cusp or the beginning of what we're going to see for all of these digital transformations. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the Microsoft roadmap. So for those of you that are on Dynamics GP, the good news is Microsoft is committed to supporting Dynamics GP with 3 releases every year through 2024, right? So 2024, and they in general will give a 5-year mainstream support to each release. They will also then give a 5-year extended support in general to each release. So that buys you, or that sort of commitment there means that we are going to be supported on Dynamics GP for some time to come. However, it is 2021, and 3 releases every year through 2024. They have backed a little bit off of the 3 releases at this point, but they are still planning to continue to release new updates to the software through the end of 2024. And again, with the support on that, we'll take you a little bit beyond there. The 3 updates, typically 2 or 3 updates, consist of security enhancements and additional top features from the user community. Users will remain supported through at least 2024 if they install at least one of the GP updates each year, June, October, and December. The December one typically is a year-end payroll update, tax rates, tax changes, form changes, those kinds of things. So what this really means is Microsoft still has a commitment to Dynamics GP. Dean Dorton still has a commitment to Dynamics GP. It's not going anywhere right now. We're not going anywhere right now. But in all honesty and all truthfulness, the commitment through 2024 had a lot more meaning to it in 2016 than it does today, given the fact that they're still saying the commitment is through the end of 2024. Now, I will say that we do fully expect a Dynamics GP roadmap update to be released by Microsoft. If I had to guess, I'd say in the next 60 days, just to be safe. There is an imminent update to the Dynamics GP roadmap. What that will be, I don't know for sure at this point, but we have been promised by someone who is extremely reliable that there will be an update. The thing that I want you to take from this is twofold. One, GP is still supported. They are still producing updates. They're still producing enhancements to it. But I want you to take a look at the language, right? So GP 2016, GP 2016 R2, and this was half 1, half 2. GP 2018 came out here. A year later, GP 2018 R2, and then we really become GP next. And they've officially made this to be GP 18, and we're now going 18.1, 18.2, and I believe 18.3 is the latest one that's out, if I'm not mistaken. But to me, there's some subtle signs there that it is still supported, but the level of changes that are being added to the system are being diminished. Again, this is not Chicken Little skies falling, it's just an observation. One other reason that I say that is because of this product that we've hinted to already. Dynamics 365 Business Central is the mid-market component of the Microsoft Cloud Stack. Now, what I mean by that is, first of all, Dynamics 365, as I've said before, is a very encompassing name. It is not just accounting. For those of us that have been around on the Great Plains days in Fargo, North Dakota, listening to Doug Burgum talk about the Red River and all those other things, or trudging through 6 feet of snow piled up on the side of the road, and just in awe of how they're actually able to still get around from somebody who's here in the South. The word dynamics is synonymous, with accounting software. But in the Microsoft world of today, Dynamics 365, there are many components. There's Business Central, there's Finance and Operations, there's Sales, there's Service, there's Projects, and I think there's 2 or 3 other components as well too. Essentially what Microsoft has done is they've rebranded all of their business products into the Dynamics 365 namesake. So if you take a look at all the different products, Dynamics 365 Sales is CRM, what used to be Dynamics CRM. Dynamics 365 Service is the service component of what used to be Dynamics CRM. If we look at Dynamics 365 Business Central, that is essentially a rewritten from scratch version of Dynamics Nav, or Navision, as it was originally called. It's intended to be a product that will sit in the same space. And notice I didn't say replace, but sit in the same space as Dynamics GP or Great Plains, Dynamics SL or Solomon, and Dynamics NAV or NAV. Now, there's a finance and operations tool as well that is written from the ground up and is intended to sit in the same space as Dynamics AX or Exapta. That tool is going to be in the six-figure range for the product and implementation. Business Central is much more in the price range of Great Plains, even less expensive, potentially. So, all that being said, what is happening here is that the release calendar for Dynamics 365, for example, is 2 releases a year. These are 2 major releases, one in April and one in October. And there's a lot of code, there's a lot of features and a lot of functionality being added to the Business Central product. Now, granted, it had a little ways to go. It's not as necessarily as mature as Dynamics GP product that's been around since 94, 93, 92, somewhere in there. But it is rapidly catching up with it. So what does this mean for you? Well, so going forward, if you're currently running Dynamics GP, you have 3 options. So option 1 is cloud, right? Everybody's talking about cloud. Nobody knows where the cloud is, but everybody's talking about the cloud. So one option would be to fully migrate to Dynamics 365 Business Central, all cloud, all the time. The second option would be what's called a cloud sync. So if you're on GP 2018 and beyond, you would have, and I think they may have ported that backwards to 2016 as well, but I can't swear to it. You would have an option for cloud sync. So that means that you could synchronize some of your business data to the cloud, and you would have an opportunity to develop, let's say, Power BI reports or other business intelligence information off of that data. Your main business functions, however, would still reside in Dynamics GP. So that's like, walking up to the pool and going into the shallow end, as opposed to jumping off the diving board into the deep end. And then, of course, you can simply stay put where you are on premise using Dynamics GP for the foreseeable future. So let's talk a little bit more about these options. If you go full cloud, you jump on that diving board, you hit it, you go right into that deep end, no swimmies, no floats, nothing. What you can expect is improved productivity. It's a seamless integration with Office, Outlook, and Power BI. If I were in front of you all, I would ask you to raise your hand if you've ever been frustrated by the fact that you can't take any report in Dynamics GP and click a button and shoot it straight to Excel in a formatted option. You can do that all day long in Business Central. You can, in fact, as Linda will show you, exchange data with Microsoft Excel and Dynamics 365 Business Central. It is fully interfaced with Outlook. Again, how many people on the call use Outlook for your email? And Power BI is a fully supported embedded reporting platform for Business Central as well. So those 3 things there are great benefits for the Business Central product. There are a lot more workflow capabilities. You can extend the solution with what's called Power Apps or Power Platform. And one of the things, just to pause for a moment, that also is great about Business Central is because it is targeted to sit in the same space as SL and GP and NAV, what we're finding is that all of the companies, most all, 90% of the companies that have developed an add-on solution for either of those have ported that solution over to Business Central. So that means right off the bat, there's tens of thousands of applications that are fully capable of running on Business Central. Seamless data sharing with Microsoft CRM platform. So if you need sales or service or any of that, it's fully integrated out of the box between those two. No future software upgrades under saving you time and money. So I would ask here too for a show of hands, how many of you feel that you just can't wait for those days where you come into work and you've had this upgrade run on your Dynamics GP system, and you love having those fingers crossed, and the exhilaration of, is the system going to work today? Just thrills you to your bone, right? You don't have to worry about that with Business Central, cloud-based. Enhancements or changes to the software can be much more automatically managed within the system. And of course, you don't have to manage your infrastructure. All your end users need is a web browser. You fire it up. Okay? So if we go forward then, a second option, as we had said, would be Cloud Sync. So again, here, this is one we've had a couple of customers that have toyed with this a bit, but the gist of it really is what you see here in this diagram. So you have your on-prem GP 2018 solution, and you push that data, or you set GP up to push that data up into a quasi-business central environment, which gives you an ability then to develop analytics off of that data. So you're not using Business Central day to day, but you are getting the benefit of some of the cloud-based reporting. So if you have satellite offices, maybe they don't need the terminal server anymore. If they're just looking at data, maybe they can grab that data through a Power BI report or published web app or something like that in the Business Central environment. So out of the box KPIs, cash, sales, income, inventory, insights to action with overdue invoices. There's a lot of things like that that you could push, and you could have better access to that data. However, Cloud Sync options requires you to manage your future software upgrades and infrastructure. So you still have this GP system on premise here that you have to manage. It is a scheduled or recurring data sync, so it's not a real-time system. It does really become sort of a data warehouse type environment in the cloud when you go that manner. And then lastly, you do have the option of staying on premise. And as I said in the beginning, I am not, whatever you want to call it, besmirching or putting down, belittling Dynamics GP, anything like that. I still love the system. I have fond memories of, believe it or not, being in Fargo and really knowing the team that you were working with, and knowing that they cared about the solution and things like that. I really still very much like Dynamics GP. But if you stay this route, you will still need to do your own upgrades. You will still have some things that you have to take care of, and some maintenance on your side, and you will have potentially trouble sharing data. Depends on how you're configured, but it certainly wouldn't be cloud-based. As you know, the second bullet point here, access to Dynamics Customer Source, they have completely revamped that now, and it's more of a common customer area with a lot of the other Microsoft products. So that's kind of iffy as a benefit at this point. They have not updated a lot of the online training, some of the online help, some of the different areas where you try to get information about Dynamics GP since 2013. Folks ask for, where's the what's new manual? Where are the training manuals for it? And all we can really point back to at this point is 2013. They are having less and less user groups and customer forums. GPUG The Great Plains user group is still going strong. If you're not members of that and you are going to opt for the on-premise, I would highly encourage you to look at GPUG and look at joining that. If you have any issues with that or questions, please reach out to me or to Kim Denton within the firm. We'll be happy to help you. But, so Great Plains is not going away, not right now. Anyway, it's not something where the fires burning, the skies falling, anything like that. But there are some signs. If we talk about not really updating the online instructions and help and things like that since 2013, doing away with the specialized area just for Dynamics GP customers and moving it into more of an all-inclusive area. Changing the name of the software from yearly versions to 18 point something. There are some signs that do point to a slowdown in development at a minimum on Dynamics GP. And again, just trying to make everyone aware of what's out there and not trying to cause panic or alarm. All right, that on-premise is definitely still an option. So here is where you begin to get into really what you kind of need to know and what we can tell you about Business Central. And this is the part where I am going to start to be quiet, and Linda will run through these slides with you. So, Linda?
Hello. Thanks, Philip. I do also want to thank all of you for joining us today to learn more about what's coming for GP. As Philip mentioned, there is a new roadmap coming. Once that is available, we'll make sure that everyone gets that information. But for now, I'd like to spend a couple minutes talking about some similarities and differences between Dynamics GP and Business Central. I do believe Business Central is truly an excellent option if you are considering moving to the cloud. The functionality in terms of modules between the two applications are pretty comparable. So I'm not going to get into a lot of detail on, accounts receivable, accounts payable, but I do want to talk about a few of the differences and similarities on for a couple minutes, and then we'll hop in and do just a short demo just to give you a little peek into what the application interface looks like. So first up, Business Central uses what are called dimensions. And as all of you that are Dynamics GP users know, in Dynamics GP, your chart of accounts typically consists of a couple, maybe even more, different segments. And having those segments as part of your chart of accounts ends up resulting in kind of an expansive list of account numbers. What Business Central does is it has a standard chart of accounts, which would consist of your natural accounts, and then they also use some totaling and the header type accounts. And then any other analysis you want to do on your financial transactions are handled by what are called dimensions. And Business Central happens to have 2 global dimensions and 6 shortcut dimensions available. The global dimensions just mean that those out of the box are available on any screen, the master record or transaction screen. So this is a good thing in that it eliminates the need for a big, huge chart of accounts, and it exponentially increases your reporting power. You don't have to use those dimensions on every account transaction. You can kind of pick and choose and use them how it makes sense. So examples of dimensions might be like department or region. You might want to track some sort of light project tracking kind of thing. So you set up dimensions, you add some values to them, and then you do your best to get as much of it to default in as possible by your setup with account numbers and master records. Okay, Philip, I'm ready for the next slide. All right, so let's talk a little bit about reporting. So Dynamics GP, has all the canned reports that are written with the Dynamics GP report writer. That is a report writing tool that is not for the faint of heart, and most users are not able to modify reports on their own and are generally relying on our consulting services to make those kinds of changes. And as Philip mentioned earlier, it's difficult to get those reports out to Excel, which is a place that accounting people love to see their accounting numbers in. There is SQL reporting services that does allow you to send reports out to Excel. They're still not as pretty as I'd like to see them. So in Business Central, all the native reports are built with either Microsoft Word or SQL Server reporting services. And any report can be sent to Preview, PDF, Word, Excel, and they can also be scheduled. The Word reports are typically forms, and then GP know that you can also do your reports to Word or your forms to Word, which you need to do when you want to email invoices or purchase orders or that kind of thing. Okay, I'm ready to go to the next slide. Philip?
The financial reporting.
I jumped one. I'm off a slide here.
Oh.
So financial reports. So right out of the box, there's a couple of simple financial reports and agings that are available in the Excel and SSRS formats. And then there are what are called account schedules, which are a little bit similar to what you're used to with Management Reporter, where you use rows and columns and combine those to create your reports. As you probably know, Management Report Writer has not had any enhancements since 2016. And I don't even think we've had a service pack for several years. So Management Reporter is as good as it's going to be. Both Dynamics GP and Business Central have third-party solutions outside of GP or Business Central that you can use for reporting. So Solvers, BI 360, Jet Reports are a couple of them that are available for financial reporting. Okay, I'm ready for the next slide. Integrations, yes. So with Dynamics GP, when you first purchase the software, you have access to Integration Manager for 120 days for doing simple imports, basically just to get your system ready to run, get up and running. There's also eConnect, which is a much more robust integration tool, but it does require developer resources. What we don't have listed here is there is also a product that several of you have, which is called Smart Connect. And that's just a nice user interface that takes advantage of eConnect on the back end. With Business Central, they have a couple of options. They have something called Rapid Start Services, which uses Excel worksheets and packages to create integration templates. That's out of the box. It's not anything you have to purchase in addition to Business Central, unlike with GP. If you want to use an integration tool longer than that first 120 days, you do have to purchase one of the products we just talked about. And then there's also an assisted setup, which is a wizard-based integration tool just to get some basic data in, like GL accounts, customers, vendors, and items. All right, so I think that covers it for integrations. And now we are up to the demo. Let me just get my screen shared here. So, little technical glitch here. I don't have the ability to click on share. Now I do. Thank you.
I just fixed it. You're so
Thank
welcome.
you. All right, let me pull Business Central over. Okay, so what we have here is the home page or the landing page of Business Central, and it is browser-based. I'm just logged into the software through my Edge browser, and it's organized by kind of module. You'd be used to seeing something like this in GP where you're looking at finance, sales, inventory, purchasing, etc. So there's a lot of shortcuts to quickly get to transaction entry screens. And then we've got a nice section here that gives you some insight as to what's going on in your business. So we've got some cues that are telling us with not only some numbers, but also some colors as to things that might need our attention. So for example, here we have a number of invoices that are overdue, and I can drill down and see that list of invoices right from the home page. I can see some information on what's happening in sales, purchasing, payments, any incoming documents that I need to give some attention to. This page is customizable in that you can set up the cues. So what is your, at what point do you think you should be read with overdue sales invoices? And you can set those ranges that work best for your company. There's training videos available right here on the main screen. Scroll down here a bit. And we can look, we've got some workflow information. So any approvals, workflow setup you have. And then we've got charts and graphs. We've got the ability to track some of our favorite accounts. So if you want, that's customizable as well. We can embed Power BI reports. So Power BI with Dynamics GP, if you want to use Power BI, you will need to set up something that's called a data gateway, and that's a way to securely transmit your on-premise GP data up into the cloud for Power BI. With Business Central, there's an out-of-the-box connector built right into Power BI. So basically just launch Power BI desktop and connect out to your data by using your login. Should point out that Business Central, we mentioned earlier, is tightly integrated with other Microsoft products, including Office and Power BI. So when you log into any of those applications, it's all the same login, which is your Office email address and your password. So those accounts are all linked. Let's see. Many Power BI reports embedded, but it's definitely doable. So I want to show you a customer card. I'll give you an idea of kind of a difference between GP and Business Central. So when I join into the page, it's a list page. So this is listing all of the customers. So kind of think of that as a little bit similar to, say, a smart list in GP. And we can do things like filter our list if I wanted to see all the customers in a specific state, or anybody who has the word blue in the name. I mean, I'm just coming up with a silly example, but let's see if that works. I picked a bad example, but greater than, customer number is greater than 15,000. There we go. And the reason I'm showing you this is not because you're ever going to filter the list on the customer number being greater than something. But the point is that you can save this just like you can have smart list favorites. And then you can just reuse that filter. The other thing we have here is to the right, and this is something you can turn on or off, so you have a little more real estate. And this will be true on any master record. You get some insights that are specific to this particular customer. And from here, I could drill into what the ongoing sales invoices are, what our past invoice sales to them were, if there's any quotes outstanding, that kind of thing. Let's take a look at the card for a customer. And I'm going to go ahead and just close this fact box. I think this is a nice feature. Those of you who are GP users, you know that when you go into a master record, be it an account number, an item, a vendor, most of those windows have multiple pages. You might see the buttons down at the bottom of GP to go to another window, or you might have a go-to button to open additional windows. And in Business Central, everything's on this page, and you can collapse or expand it. By default, it shows what it considers to be the most frequently used fields. And then if you need to expand it and get to some of the less frequently used fields, you can do that as well. So you can kind of control the view and access everything from one page. So I consider that to be quite nice. Sticking with this customer list, I'm going to change the view back to all. I want to show you that we talked about the tight integration with Microsoft Office. I can take this list of customers and I can either just open the list in Excel, which is similar to what Smart List when you export to Excel. I can also edit in Excel. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that, which is going to export my list of customers.
And while she's doing that, I just want to jump in as another longtime GP devotee and point out the fact that she just said edit in Excel. So keep your eyes open for this one. It's really cool.
Okay. All right, so over here on the right-hand side, you can kind of see it's connecting me to the data with my credentials from Business Central. And now I've got this list of my customers, and I can see pretty much all the columns that are in the table, even though those don't necessarily display in the list view in the application. And I can, given the right security, with the Edit in Excel feature, I can actually update a customer's information from within the Excel spreadsheet and then publish it back up to Business Central. So maybe I want to replace, if I had a salesperson column and maybe I wanted to replace the salesperson for someone left and I wanted to take and replace that sales rep with a newly hired sales rep and apply it to all the records. I could do something like that. Here, I'm just going to do, just update the name for this first customer. And I'll just append it to say new, and it's a Datum Corporation. And then I just need to simply come over here and publish. And I can go ahead and close out of here. And I'll go back to Business Central. And let's refresh the customer list. And there you have it. I was able to edit the record from Excel. So if you just export it out or open in Excel, you can actually save that spreadsheet. Any of you who might use the refreshable Excel workbooks from that GP offers, that's just a way to sort of avoid continuing to have to go out to SmartList and keep exporting from SmartList. You can create the report in Excel and then just open that and hit the refresh button. All of the there's great email functionality in Business Central. You can set up multiple emails and routing for which documents should go to which customers. You can have multiple emails. All of that hooks right in with Outlook. There is an Outlook extension where you can consume Business Central information within Outlook. I don't have that configured today. I could show that to anyone who's interested. Just reach out and I'd be happy to take a few minutes to show you that. You can do things like create purchase orders and sales quotes from Outlook. There's a mobile app for Business Central that you can use right on your phone, which has lots of functionality built right into that. So I think that's about what I wanted to show you today, just a quick glimpse into Business Central. We'd be happy to show you more. If anyone's interested, just let us know.
Linda,
yes.
we just received a question that I think is important. And the question is, this edit via Excel is powerful, but I could see how a user could make an unintended and possibly catastrophic changes easily. What options are there to undo such a change after the fact?
Yeah, so your best defense there would be not to give that capability to any old user. So you want to control who has that ability. The other thing I would do is, if I was going to be making a change just in this to err on the side of caution, I would save what I exported and set it aside so that I could make the changes, import that, and if there was a catastrophic mistake, I still have the original file. I could send that back up.
Right, and I would say that would be my best recommendation as well, to export the data, do a save as, keep that. Maybe if you're increasing your item cost or item price list across the board 5%, and you accidentally do it by 50% instead of 5%, you can always go back to the original spreadsheet, redo the calculation, import it in again, or just import the original spreadsheet back in, and that sort of resets things. There are backups to Business Central. Microsoft is always making backups, and you can request restores to the system. But I think Linda is right on point with both of those answers. Only let certain people do it, and make sure that they know that they need to keep a copy of the original data just in case.
Any other questions?
Okay. So Linda, I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking us on that tour of Dynamics 365. Hope that you've gotten something insightful out of this. Again, we are not doom and gloom. We are not saying that that Dynamics GP is over, but we do see some signs that it is slowing down, and we feel an obligation to make sure that you all know what is out there. And we have really become fond of the cloud solutions that we offer, Dynamics 365, Business Central in particular. So if you have any questions, if you need any additional information on it, please feel free to reach out to any of us that have been on this call, and we'll be more than happy to talk with you about how it might fit your exact needs. So again, appreciate your time, and thank you very much for coming.